exchange for success. Thank you. That's where my work begins. I'm a burnout specialist and a corporate authority, and I treat burnout as what it is really, an identity crisis created by chronic pressure, misalignment, and unsafe environments. My focus isn't on pushing harder or coping better. It is on restoring safety, self-trust, and sustainable performance. I designed burnout prevention and recovery frameworks for individuals and corporates, helping people think clearly again, lead from strength instead of survival, and build success without burning themselves down in the process. I don't help people endure broken systems. I help fix what's breaking them, and I don't coach on topics that I have not experienced myself. Tonight I'm joined by two women whose perspectives comes together in a powerful and a grounded way. Rensha Leach is the founder and CEO of Nucleocell Nutrition. She holds a master's degree in genetics, and her work focuses on how the human body, responds to prolonged stress at a cellular level. Through her research and formulation work, Rensha identified the critical role of nucleotides, the building blocks our cells rely on for repair and regeneration, especially under conditions of chronic stress. Her work helps explain why burnout doesn't resolve with rest alone. Alongside her is Rochelle Peterson, a business development officer at Nucleocell Nutrition. Rochelle works closely with professionals, founders, and leaders navigating intense pressure, responsibility, and decision fatigue. She brings the lived professional lens, how burnout shows up in careers, leaderships, and identity. And what else matters is that both Rensha and Rochelle are mothers, partners, and entrepreneurs. They understand the layered demand of building businesses, raising families, and carrying responsibility, often without space to properly recover. Welcome, ladies. It's an honor and a pleasure to have you with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Sandra.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you, Rensha. I'm going to jump right in if you don't mind. We've got certain topics that we are going to cover tonight, and I'm going to ask the ladies some questions so that we can have a discussion. Please write your questions in the chat so that we can answer that at the end. The first one is the topic is the lived experience and the reality check. Rochelle, I'm going to ask you, when professionals say, I'm just stressed, what are they seeing beneath the surface?
Wow, Sandra, that is such a great question, and welcome to everybody on the webinar. Thanks for being here. When professionals, what I hear that I'm just stressed, but underneath what I'm actually seeing is somebody that has normalized survival mode.
Yeah.
They're functioning, but yet not thriving. They're showing up. They still deliver, they still carry responsibility, but it's costing them far more than they actually realize.
Yeah.
What I also see is that their patience is thinner. They are more irritable than they used to be. And sadly, when you look at them, it's like their joy is muted. And those decisions that used to be easy starts feeling heavy.
Yeah.
And quietly, their confidence starts eroding, not because they're incapable, but because their internal capacity is depleted.
Mm-hmm.
And this happens because chronic stress shifts our nervous system into a constant threat ready state. Mm-hmm. When this becomes the default, our brain prioritize not creativity, not emotional regulation, not long-term thinking, but it prioritizes survival. Mm. The person starts feeling flat and tired and completely disconnected from themselves.
Thank you for that. I've got a follow-up question for you on that one. How does fatigue show up emotionally or cognitively?
Right. From an emotional perspective, people feel less like themselves. They become reactive instead of responsive. And I think everybody that has experienced burnout can identify with being reactive, right?
Yeah.
And small things start overwhelming them. And often, and there's often some element of guilt because
Oh,
they
yes.
normally ask, why can't I just cope better? That is from an
Yes.
emotional perspective. From cognitively, it shows up as brain fog,
Yep.
slow processing, difficulty focusing, and decision fatigue. People
Yep.
start doubting their competence when the real issue isn't mindset, it's capacity. Yeah.
And these traits sometimes show up, and then the people and the person that is experiencing the whole thing don't recognize themselves because that is not who they are. And that's why I always say burnout takes your identity, because you can once be this confident person that can take any battle, do anything, and once you start experiencing especially the brain fog and the slower processing, it takes away their self-esteem, the way that they think about themselves. And it takes away your identity, your confidence, energy, and your focus. Thank you for that, Rochelle. Really appreciate it. Next, we're going to look at the biology of the chronic stress. Rensha, what happens when stress becomes constant?
Our bodies were never designed to be in a constant state of stress. We're supposed to rest and digest and not fight and flight the whole time. So, longer the intervals between stress episodes, the more time we have to recover. But when stress becomes this constant thing every day, the body stops prioritizing recovery and instead we go into a survival mode. And our bodies
Yeah,
then prioritize survival. And
yeah,
then often we hear people say, I'm resting, but I'm not recovering.
no,
And we both have actually touched on that already.
yeah,
On a biological level, prolonged stress elevates our cortisol and our um, stress response systems. So when cortisol then stays higher for longer, adrenaline also stays elevated. We see an increase in inflammation in our bodies. And those are little fires that are burning that should be put out, but our body doesn't have the capacity to put out those little fires. And then the body experiences a cumulative wear and tear effect on a cellular level.
yeah.
So cells are being asked to function on a level where they need to adapt and repair continuously without the time, the energy, or the raw material to be able to do so. And over time, this, of course, creates a massive biological burden that the body can no longer offset.
So why is coping different from recovery?
Mm. So coping means that we manage on a behavioral level, and our symptoms and behavior is then cognitively managed. But recovery means that we restore on a biological level, on a cellular level. And we can reframe our thoughts, we can meditate, we can take a weekend away, we can do something fun, and all those things are critical. They really are important. But if the body doesn't have the capacity to be able to use the resources, and if it doesn't even have the resources that it requires for repair, regeneration, and recovery, it will always lag behind. And that explains why people often say, I'm doing everything right,
Yeah.
but I still don't feel like myself. So
Mm-hmm.
there's almost that disconnect between knowing who you are and how you are, who you are and how you are.
Yeah.
So they may be coping on a psychological level, but the recovery on a biological level is just too slow.
So let's talk about the burnout at a cellular level.
Mhm.
Rensha, why are people sleeping but still feeling exhausted when they wake up?
Now, yeah, we often want sleep to be able to be the medicine we need, but it's not. There's a difference between rest and recovery. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not just the semantics of the words, it's actually what happens when you rest and what needs to happen when you recover. So if the cells don't have the raw materials that they need to regenerate, sleep alone can't fix that. It's almost like parking a damaged car in a garage overnight and then expecting tomorrow morning everything's going to be fine, but you never supplied the spare parts. And I really hope that makes sense. So on a scientific level, biological level, if there's chronic stress, our cellular turnover increases. So there's more pressure on the immune system. Your whole metabolic process is fast-tracked. We have more cell turnover. Our body needs more building blocks to be able to recover. And our DNA repair also then becomes under pressure. So our gut lining doesn't generate properly, there's a lack of absorption, and the whole nervous system doesn't recover. And all these biochemical processes require proper building blocks. And when the building blocks are no longer there, the body becomes depleted and the repair remains incomplete, even when we have adequate sleep. And that is why fatigue then persists, despite people sleeping maybe 6 or 8 hours. And they try and do all the right things, but they still don't recover.
So you're talking about inside the body. What is the mismatch that is happening inside the body?
So we're talking about a complete mismatch in the building materials that need to be there for recovery and the availability of the building materials for recovery.
You're talking nucleotides as the building material, correct?
Not just nucleotides. If we become really stressed, we go for fast foods that are mostly processed because it's convenient, and then we don't have proper nutrition. So it's the whole of nutrients we need, proper building blocks with nucleotides as a support on a cellular level, but all the others as well, they become low to be able to match the demand. And then over time, cellular division falls behind and biochemical processes fall behind. And that is where we experience chronic exhaustion. Emotionally, we just can't cope anymore. We're fragile and frustrated. We've got lowered stress tolerance and reduced resilience. So it's not just a mind thing, it's absolutely on a cellular level.
Wow, okay. Thank you, Rachel. Rochelle, how does this show up professionally?
You know what, Sandra, a few weeks ago, I was speaking to a professional that works in a very high pressurized environment, deadlines, and then on top of that, she started studying. So from a capability perspective, she's definitely capable. But one of the things that we were discussing was the fact that she felt a reduced sense of focus, a very emotional, volatile, start snapping at people, start snapping, not just at work, but start snapping at their loved ones. She also felt like, if I could, her words was, she feels retarded. Because it doesn't feel like she can make any decisions, know. And because of that, the questions start settling in. Am I able to do this? Am I capable of doing this? And high performance, what we see and what Rensha and I do is that high performers often dismiss early warning signs because pushing through always works for them. But the body keeps score. I love the analogy that Rensha uses, like parking a broken car in the garage, waking up tomorrow morning, but you didn't give it any spare parts. Your body keeps the score, even when your mind keeps on rationalizing it. That's how I see it show up in professionals.
Okay. So if we are talking about the missing piece on a cellular recovery level, Rensha, what are nucleotides? Explain simply so that all of us can understand that.
Thanks, Sandra. And Rochelle, if I do it on a technical and a complicated level, please feel free to chip in. So nucleotides are basic building blocks of our cells. And in each cell, the genetic material is protected in the nucleus. And when a cell needs to divide, we talk about a mother cell, the DNA needs to duplicate, and then an exact copy is made of this mother cell genetic material, and then the cell can split into two, and you have two daughter cells. So that's the basis of cell division and growth and muscles that need to be built and all of the cellular regeneration that takes place in the body. So every time the body then does this and goes through this process of repairing damaged cells or replacing damaged cells, the immune system also functions on white blood cells that need to be made so that they are able to fight the pathogens. So the cell renewal that takes place uses copious amounts of nucleotides. And then when we have this incredible stress, that cellular turnover is increased, our metabolic processes are increased, and we need more nucleotides to be able to catch up with the cellular regeneration that needs to take place. You can think of nucleotides as almost the alphabet, the letters that our cells use to rewrite their own identity for recovery and regeneration.
Okay.
And if I can add in there, I remember the first time I discovered nucleotides, and Rensha and I have been walking for quite a while together, and I literally call them miracle molecules. It's this amazing molecule, and like Rensha explained, with it's the body's alphabet.
Yeah.
If you look at the English alphabet, the alphabet, we've got 26 letters. When you put those letters together, you start forming words. And if you put words together, you start forming sentences, and then paragraph, and then books, and then ultimately libraries. Right. So what your body does with this nucleotides, they come together and they form cells, healthy cells.
Yeah.
Cells come together and they form organs, healthy organs. Organs come together to build systems that eventually builds the body. So
Makes
for
up
me,
who
they
you
are
are.
absolute miracle molecules.
Yeah. So if I understand this correctly, nucleotides are already in your body.
Yes. So the body manufactures nucleotides when the raw materials are available from the food we eat, and the body makes nucleobases. That's what we call them. And then food we eat, anything that's alive, contains nucleotides and genetic material, and our body can absorb from those living tissue and living cells. That's part of the currency that is given to us by the food we eat. So even if you do eat a potato chippy that's been fried in oil, there are nucleotides in that potato, and they're not damaged by the high temperatures. I mean, they are miracle molecules because they can withstand temperatures and acidity and pressure. But the content is very low. And Rochelle always loves to explain that you need to eat 54 kilograms of raw broccoli to be able
goodness.
nucleotides for a single day's maintenance.
Yup.
Yes, and that is raw broccoli.
And the alternative, I think 7 kilograms of raw liver, if I remember correctly. So,
600 grams of raw liver.
Sorry, 100 grams
raw
of
liver.
Yeah.
Raw liver. Yes.
Oh, yeah. We're going to do a Hannibal Lecter moment just now. Yeah, raw liver. Okay. So, Rensha, why does stress increase demand for nucleotides?
Okay, so we've spoken about the increase in our metabolic processes when stress is really high. So it also increases our immune activity. When cortisol is high, our immune system is actually suppressed. And then we're much more prone to upper airway respiratory tract infections. There are actually clinical trials that they did on athletes when they start really training hard and stressing their bodies with high cortisol levels with training, they do get upper airway infections. And they found that the higher elevated cortisol levels actually decrease the immune system, the IgG, which is our immunoglobulin, our defense in our spittle, that decreases by 25%. And in the control group where they gave them nucleotides, there was absolutely no decrease. So we know, clinically proven, that nucleotides maintain the function of the immune system when they are available, whether you get them from your food or whether you supplement. So sorry, I've diverted again, but just to answer
No,
your
it's
question,
fine.
higher metabolic rates because of the higher stress puts a bigger demand on cellular turnover, and then we need more nucleotides to be able to catch up and maintain all the the biochemical processes.
Okay, but then what happens when the body runs low?
Okay. I always show these little squeegees that people can what the inside of our gut looks like. So this
Oh,
would be
great.
well developed. The villi are finger-like protrusions that line the inside, the inner lining of our whole intestinal tract. So just for perspective, if you take your skin and you unpack it cell by cell, you'll end up with the size of a coffee table. That's about 2 square meters.
Sure.
Our lungs have the capacity to expand, and if you unpack the lungs cell by cell, you'll cover an area of about 20 square meters. And
Yo,
which is a pipe that starts at the mouth and ends at the anus, can be anything from 6 to 8 meters long. And if you unpack that cell by cell, it's the size of a half a tennis court.
sure.
The other interesting thing is that every 3 to 5 days, the lining of our gut is completely new due to wear and tear, due to the high acidity in our stomachs. That is just the process and how our bodies were designed. Sorry, there's a mosquito flying around. So the villi are these finger-like protrusions that line the inside of our gut. And in the villi, there's a mucosal layer that protects the single cells. And in this mucosal layer, all our bacteria live, and that's where our gut microbiome should flourish. But most people's guts, because of a lack of nucleotides, look like this one. And I hope you
Okay.
can see leaky
Yeah,
gut is when there are holes, when it's not intact, the mucosal layer is not intact, and you get a permeable surface area where undigested proteins, foreign particles end up in the bloodstream. And the body then becomes sensitive to these. They don't know these proteins directly in the blood, and it launches an immune attack. And if the body really gets confused, it starts attacking its own tissue, and that's when autoimmune diseases start to develop. I've really simplified this. It is not just such a straightforward process, but to
yeah,
answer your lack of nucleotides, some of the first places where we see the damage is in the gut lining because of the incredible high cellular turnover that takes place in the gut to renew the surface area of a half a tennis court every 3 to 5 days. And
sure.
that to malabsorption, we don't absorb and digest properly, and we don't have the building blocks to support our body on a cellular level to be able to recover when we indeed rest and are supposed to be able to regenerate when we
Yeah.
sleep.
And just to give context to what Rensha is saying, remember she said that if you have to pack out your digestive system or your gut cell by cell, that it would be half the size of half a tennis court, right? And earlier on, I said that your nucleotides are like your alphabet. You put nucleotides together, they form a cell.
Yeah.
In one cell, there's over 3 billion pairs of nucleotides.
Wow.
So think about it. Think about that. You need to replace half a size of a tennis court, multiply by 3 billion pairs. That is actually what you require. So when you start looking at it from that perspective, you start seeing that you can now then start understanding why we talk about capacity. And if your body doesn't have the capacity to rebuild your gut, which is actually that's where all your feel-good hormones comes from,
Yeah.
it impacts greatly how the impact of brain fog. And if that is not adequate, you start seeing all the decision fatigue, the brain fog, the mental slowness appearing. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask a question for both of you. this might open a can of worms. Do women experience burnout more because they are professionals on the one side, corporate professionals, healthcare professionals, but like both of you, you are mothers and partners and running a household. So my question basically is, do women experience burnout more? I mean, I mentioned the stats earlier, and the stats clearly show that the women experience burnout more. So according to your background, what would you say? Yes or no?
Rochelle, you're welcome. Oh,
Both of you
must
are
I
going
go
to
first?
answer this one. Both of
Yes,
you.
yes, 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 yes. No.
no,
I'll definitely.
the short and
So
sweet answer is I think women tend to put up their hands more inclined to put up our hands
more,
to say, we want to reach out and say, I need help. I'm not coping.
Yeah.
Men, with respect, are clueless. I don't think they can really categorize and understand where they are. They just keep on going until they eventually end up in hospital. And, they really need to be ill before they go to the doctor. That's my
Yeah.
experience. So it's a very layered, loaded question. I think
I
so.
know, that's what I said.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's an extremely loaded question because
But
even with, sorry, yes,
yeah, excuse Rochelle. On
no,
top of being women, we also have menopause, and there's a massive overlap in the symptoms we experience, and we blame menopause, but it's actually the root causes are the neurological overload that we experience with constant stress. And menopause is a natural process of the ovaries shriveling up and not having the function of creating progesterone and estrogen. But the adrenals actually do take over that function. But because we are so stressed, our poor adrenals can no longer produce the front runners to progesterone. And even the little quantities that the adrenals can produce are then taken straight to cortisol and not to progesterone. So that complicates it further. But I think the whole
mhm.
thing about menopause is a complex thing that we can delve down and have a separate discussion. So, Rochelle, I want to hand over to you for the yes or no answer.
Um, at face value, it would probably be yes. I think, but I also think that answering yes is probably the easiest answer that you can give because from a physiological level perspective, men and women are actually so different, you know. Um, they are definitely different. And even when I deal with professionals, there seems to be some women that are just able to manage manage burnout so much better than others. And normally the difference comes between those that are equipped to actually do that, you know. So from a yes perspective, unlike men, we have our professional careers and that we have to outshine and compete as well to show that we are capable. But from a home side, we also run the home most of the time. We run the home. We are the ones that sit with homework with the kids. We are the ones that are running the household, and we also look after our partners. So
Yeah.
I just think that there is just so much more from an energy and from a capacity perspective that is required from women versus men, though it's different, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so the easy answer is yes.
Okay. So I'm going to add a little bit to that from what I've seen and from my perspective of dealing with clients. Um, when you go into a new position, you get 3 months, let's call it probation. You get 3 months
Yes.
to find your feet in this new position. You are receiving training on the spot where your predecessor is going to give a handover and you are going to follow 3 months. Okay. Now when you are a corporate professional woman stepping into a CFO job, into a HR director job up here, they normally don't have that 3-month leeway because they step into the position and they are expected to perform from the get-go, from the very first meeting that they attend. They need to know the ropes. And I found that in corporate professional women, the imposter syndrome, because of stepping into a new position, is so much more than in men. I don't know why. Because, like you said, they tend to feel that they need to prove themselves more because now they are stepping up into the exco level of the job and they are rubbing shoulders with their male colleagues. And I know it is a self-proclaimed thing that I put on their shoulder, a demand that they put on themselves. And that's where the 12 stages of burnout also comes in. Because you start off and you don't even realize it on stage 1. And when you get to stage 12, you totally collapse. So yeah, I just wanted to say that stepping into a new position, a 3-month leeway doesn't happen to everybody, and women in those kind of positions are often expected to perform and run at that level immediately when they step into that position. Have you found that as well?
I've definitely I found that, but I must add that a lot of it as well comes from the self-talk that we have as women.
Grace?
Um, I think sometimes our imaginations run away with us.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely imagine our imaginations run away with us. And the quality of the self-talk that we
Yes.
have, especially with women, and you can go back and probably once again look at the difference between men and women. I remember my cousin one day spoke about when a man approaches a woman, he approaches a woman with the mindset of she will be an absolute lucky woman to get me. I am absolutely amazing. Versus women thinking that, oh, will I be good enough? Will he like me? My hair, my body,
Yes.
my this,
Yes.
my that. And these are just natural proclivities that male and females actually have.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things, so equipping yourself and understanding, um, like for instance, with imposter syndrome, it's a natural thing, but equipping yourself with the tools and the
Yes.
skills to recognize what that is
Yes.
and a way for you to deal with that. Yeah, I think those are sometimes things that we as women we don't focus on or we don't even look at.
Would you mind if I shared a quick tool with the audience to
No
break
problem.
that limiting belief and to break that critical self-talk quickly? Just
Please, go ahead.
okay. So most of you have seen Harry Potter, and most of you are familiar with Dobby. Now, if you are not, Dobby is this big, he's a house elf that walks
Okay.
around with a loincloth, and that's it. He's got big ears about this size. He's got a nose that goes out here, and he just prances around, and he doesn't have a life. So I want you, whenever you experience negative self-talk or go into limiting beliefs where you hit yourself with sticks and you reprimand yourself for doing things, I want you to create a character like Dobby. Dobby is mine. I call him Critical Charlie. And my Critical Charlie looks just like Dobby, but I've gave him a voice that he sounds like helium. So whenever he speaks, he squeaks. So the whole aim is to make your critical self as laughable as possible. as small as possible. My Dobby is about this big, my critical Charlie is about this big. And whenever I experience negative self-talk, he sits here on my shoulder and I give him 5 minutes, only 5 minutes. And he can gaan vir goud. He can do his absolute best. And after 5 minutes, I say, right, away you go, enough. I don't have time to entertain you now. I am not who you say I am. I heard you. I dismiss you. Thank you for visiting. You can go now. And it takes that internal critic that you've just experienced, and it makes it actually null and void, because you make your character as laughable as you can. So it doesn't have any power over you. So you break the power there and then. You disengage the critical belief or the critical message that that person wants to give you. You're not good enough. You're never going to do this. Yes, I am. Thank you. But now you've just motivated me more to go through this. So each of you can create your own critical Charlie, give him a name, give him a voice, give him a look, give him a size, make it a woman, make it a man, whatever works for you. But don't entertain any negative self-talk for longer than 5 minutes. Thank you. Sorry, I digressed. I found that that works well. So we are going to talk about the application to professional lives. Rochelle, why do people keep pushing?
They keep pushing because high performers are rewarded for endurance. They are not rewarded for recovery. Because pushing has always worked until it doesn't work anymore. And often people push because identity is often tied to competence and output.
Yeah.
So when a high performer admits depletion, they literally feel like a failure. But your biology compensates quietly until it no longer can. And ignoring the limits eventually create long-term risks.
What limits are you referring to?
One of the things that you just spoke about was your character.
Yeah.
Right. You spoke about the character and that he is having his voice sound like he inhaled helium, and you give him 5 minutes for
being critical.
To be critical, and thereafter, you stop him, right? That means that first of all, you have understood that your allowance for that is 5 minutes, right? But now let's look at burnout from a biological level.
Yeah.
So now you start feeling tired, okay? And remember earlier on, Rensha referred to the difference between rest and repair.
Yeah.
Right. So you sleep and you sleep and you sleep, but you just don't feel rested.
Yeah.
So from a biological perspective, a limit has been reached because you do not have what your body requires to repair what needs to be repaired during sleep. So that's what we're talking about in terms of your limits. And then ultimately what happens, it worsens and it just increases increases risk over the long run.
And what are the long-term risks, personally and professionally?
Personally, ultimate chronic burnout. Rachel was talking about the role of your digestive system in terms of immunity. So your immune system is completely disrupted. hormonal balances, emotional exhaustion, and then ultimately a loss of self. That's from a personal perspective. From a professional perspective, the culprit, poor decision making, reduced leadership. I'm a bit careful of saying leadership capacity, because these are still capable human beings. Right now, not so much, but they are able to do that. Also professionally, disengagement, definitely a loss of creativity. And eventually what happens is forced withdrawal due to illness or a complete shutdown.
Yep. Rensha, you previously mentioned menopause. How would the people know if they, from a biological point of view, how would they know if they are experiencing burnout or menopause?
That's a really good question, Sandra, and I'm not going to try and address it on a very deep level. But if you experience burnout and high stress, it causes menopause on steroids. And if you look at the theory, naturally, menopause is just the slow decline in progesterone and estrogen. Then the adrenals can take over and they create pregnenolone, which is a front runner to progesterone. But because we don't have that, or no, we do have that, but our body then prioritizes survival, which is the fight or flight due to high stress. So that bit of pregnenolone that is available through the adrenals becomes cortisol and it doesn't become progesterone. And a similar thing happens with estrogen. The little bit of estrogen we still have is then not properly processed by the liver because of high stress. We see fatty liver in people that do not touch alcohol, and usually the fetal alcohol syndrome and fatty liver is associated with high alcohol intake, but high sugar intake and constant high cortisol levels causes such inflammation in the liver that even the estrogen cannot be properly processed and broken down. So where estrogen is usually anti-inflammatory, we don't have that estrogen that is simulated into the body to lower inflammation. So we get even higher levels of inflammation. Then a night sweat is not just a brief period of the temperature that's disrupted. It becomes that you need to change your sheets. It's a massive process of sweating. Hot flushes, the uncomfortable feelings, brain fog. So all those symptoms really run parallel to adrenal fatigue and burnout versus menopause. So often menopause gets blamed, but the simple answer is that menopause on steroids definitely is fueled by burnout.
Thank you for that, Rensha. How does NucleoCell differ?
So NucleoCell's products are the only products that contain nucleotides. And nucleotides don't force or stimulate energy. They give the body the capacity to restore on a natural level so that there is support for the body's natural capacity to repair and regenerate. And because it's on a cellular level, there's better support long term. And there's just performance that can then follow when recovery happens. It's not the other way around. And you can't force recovery sustainably if you don't have the proper building blocks to support on a molecular and a cellular level.
On an integration and the meaning of all of this, I'm going to ask both of you the last question before we get to the testimonials, is what changes when mindset and cellular health are supported together? Rensha.
If the body is strong, we can expand our capacity of coping. And that is just because on a cellular level, the body can function properly, we can detox properly. On a neurological level, we can process quicker, our bodies can fire quicker, our minds can process better. And it then ties in with body, mind, and soul that can support each other for a much more fuller life that has capacity to be able to deal with whatever stress is given our way.
Okay. Rochelle?
That's 100%. I think, as you were explaining, Rensha, what literally the two words that literally came to my mind was input and output.
Mm.
In order to have an output, there needs to be an input. And if you look at burnout, if you look at burnout as an output, it means there was a lack of materials that were lack of inputs,
Yeah, makes sense.
So what then happens, or what changes when mindset and cellular health are both supported, is that you have the required, you have the required, or supply your body the required inputs so that you can have high output. That's literally what happens when you support these two various aspects and not just one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to share three slides just after this. And it is going to be about the nucleotide products that Nucleocell sells. And then I'm going to have a slide about my business, about the burnout as well, with contact details that the people can refer or phone us if they need any more information. But before we get to that, I actually want to ask both of you if you can give me each a testimonial of somebody that has been taking your products and tell us what the benefits are, what the people have experienced taking your products, if you don't mind.
I would really like to give a third-party testimonial, but could I give a personal testimony?
Of course.
Please do. Mm.
All right. So when I started Nucleotides, just to give you a bit of background of what I do. I'm involved in a number of businesses. I do consulting here in South Africa. I'm a part of Nucleocell. There's businesses that I work with in Nigeria and in Ghana, and I service clients from various different industries.
Okay.
And the businesses that I'm involved in are very, very different. What this literally requires from me is to put on a different hat depending on which business I'm actually dealing with.
Yeah.
On top of that, I am a single mom of two amazing blessings, twins, the only one in my family.
Well done.
Yes. And when I started using nucleotides, I used to have this deep setted eyes, very dark circles, and I literally felt slow. I felt retarded.
Okay.
I used to be a size 44. I had a stomach that was very, very huge, very, very big. And for me, when I started using nucleotides and started understanding the science behind the nucleotides, specifically the gut, because my stomach was so big, the first thing that I experienced was the clarity, right?
In your mind.
In my mind, the brain fog, right?
Yeah.
Remember, that's what I experienced. But like we just explained, the science is because every single 3 to 5 days, you have a new digestive system that regulates all of that, right?
Yeah.
And then I got the building blocks. The other thing as well is I am not a diet person. I am a rice, aardappels en vleis of pap en vleis mens.
Most of us
please
are.
don't be asking me to eat lots of vegetables and stuff like that. But I do like working out. But the thing about working out is that you need to recover. And you have that debilitating 2 weeks. And then you're just like, no, ek gee op. I'm not going to do it. and what I've experienced with my workouts, and even if you go on the NucleoCell page, you will see some of the workouts that I do. My recovery is much better.
Okay.
So from a personal perspective, it helped me, it equipped me to be the person that I want to be, without falling short. Yeah, it has changed my life.
Oh, well
And
done.
everywhere with all the testimonials, I think the most interesting thing or the most surprising things to most clients is that after that first 2 weeks, that sense of clarity, that
Okay.
there's something, I feel clear. I don't feel I can focus. And
Mm-hmm.
that pulls throughout our testimonials with our clients.
Okay.
But
Thank you for sharing, Rochelle. Sure. Rensha.
It's just a small little inside info. Rochelle's one daughter can now put her arms around her mother and actually her hands touch on
Oh,
the
wow.
so
Well
she will
done.
her mother, my
yeah.
hand touch when I hug you. So that was
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mm.
And then we actually ran into a guy, Martin, who's a very fit, he does environmental impact assessments, a very fit young guy. And when he spoke to us this morning, we actually ran into him at Rochelle's offices. He was saying that the clarity that he experiences when he takes nucleotides is not a chemically induced clarity.
Yes.
It is sustained, and he that's what he experienced after 2 weeks. We have a lot of testimonials specifically with the gut where people experience less cramping within the first week. And I myself, in the afternoons, 2, 3, 4 o'clock-ish, I tend to become sluggish because I don't eat properly. And sometimes we just eat on the run and then we're in the car. And when I do take the collagen powder with nucleotides in the mornings, I do not experience that afternoon
Okay.
slump. So there's
Oh,
definitely more sustained energy throughout the day that I personally experience.
okay.
And better
Thank you.
skin. And better skin as well.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
both look like 20.
Oh,
You should see them close up, guys. They look 20. Anyway, um, I'm going
Flattering
to
gets you
share.
everywhere, Sandra.
I want your nucleotides. I'm going to share with you a testimonial from Elizabeth. Um, yeah, she's a healthcare worker high up in the healthcare. And I'm just going to read this. Last year, I found myself in a very dark stage of my life. It felt like it would never end. I wanted to give up, and I didn't want to live anymore. I was being bullied at work, had no confidence, and despite reading countless self-help books, listening to audiobooks, and visiting psychologists, nothing seemed to change. Then, through a friend, I met Sandra, and that's where my new journey began. Without medication or long therapy sessions, Sandra guided me through a powerful process of self-discovery. Through interactive sessions, questionnaires, and deep self-reflection, I began to understand why I thought the way I did and why I kept repeating the same patterns. The transformation was phenomenal. After just 6 sessions, I could hardly believe who I had become. My colleagues noticed the change. I was unstoppable. My relationships improved, and I finally understood the importance of setting boundaries. The sessions were intense and forced me to face things that I had always procrastinated on. But Sandra's work was truly life-changing, and after struggling for over 10 years, I now see myself as a steady, stable person who can make a real difference in society. So I've got courses in toxic workplace, in anxiety, and in burnout, and that is what I'm working with. So I am going to share the contact details with you all. I'm just going to launch this and have it on the Nikki, do I have access to share? Let me just do this first. Sorry, I didn't use. Where is my... Are you still on the meeting? Did I not lose you?
We can hear you.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the share button. Share. There you go. And I am going to share the screen.
Nothing happening on our side to see your screen.
Got the wrong button.
Oh.
I'll be there just now. I promise you.
It's okay.
It's okay. No stressing. No stressing. There you are. Share.
Yeah.
So you can see, and Nikki's also going to share the contact details in the chat so that everybody can have a look at the nucleocell information. And if I press that button, there's an animation at the background, which is very cool. So there's the nucleocell website. There's Rensha and Rochelle's contact details. If you are interested in buying any of these products, please contact them and mention that you were in the webinar tonight, and then they will take it from there and you can decide which of the products you want. This is my details. There's the website, D Square Consulting, and I also added a link to my calendar. So all of you that are on the call tonight can please click on the link, book a 3-minute free session with me. We can talk about whatever you want to. I know that most of you are experiencing symptoms of burnout. That's why you're on the call, because you wanted to know what is the effect of it on your body and in your cells as well. So burnout doesn't feel like exhaustion. It starts with self-abandonment. So that is a quite profound statement going forward. And then I want to ask you, I'm going to send all of you an email. And that email is going to have the link to the recording of the session that you can share as you go along. It is going to be, the recording is going to be in my online community, but you can register for that for free. I will send the link to the online community. And in there, you will find all the other previous recorded webinars that you can listen to. I'm going to give you 3 free resources. The first one is going to be your 2026 reboot workbook that is going to be about getting your confidence, your energy, and your focus back for this year, 2026. Because if you experienced burnout or stress or anxiety in 2025 and you take that energy with you into 2026, you're already starting at a disadvantage. So I'm going to give you the workbook. Plus, I'm going to give you a 30-day momentum plan that you can work through for the next 30 days. And just to see if you are really burnt out or not, I'm going to add a quiz for your burnout questionnaire that you can see, and the results are in there as well to determine if you are suffering from burnout or not.
Okay.
So I am going to stop the presentation now. And I'm going to stop sharing, stop share. I'm going to jump back to the presentation and we're going to have a look at the questions. Okay, Nikki had the stats in there that I shared previously. And then Tracy's note taker. You can see screenshots. Question. Stats of burnout prior and after COVID period. Alta, that is a really, really interesting one. Also on mental and health ratio. I actually, when I did the research to get the stats, that stats about the 56 to 78% of the healthcare workers, that is actually doctors, that they tested their burnout level after COVID. And that is the stat that they came back. And that included doctors and nurses, all the healthcare practitioners that worked in the hospitals during COVID. The stats climbed between 56 and 78. But I can do some more research and I can give you some feedback about that if you are interested to get that, Alta. Would that be fine with you?
Perfect. Thank you, Sandra.
Pleasure. I think Rochelle or Rensha did answer the question about what needs to be done on the recovery on the biological level. Was her answer sufficient, or do you need a little bit more explanation, Alta?
No, I think the answer was really sufficient. I think I was just a little bit ahead of the curve there.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. And then you made a comment that my blood tests showed moderate. Okay, I'm not going to pronounce that. Can you say that, please?
Neutropenia,
Neutropenia.
which is actually, just in plain terms, it showed you get 4 different levels. After moderate, it is severe, which means the type of white blood cells I do have in my bloodstream is really low in terms of fighting off, normal flu, viruses, bacteria, and so forth. I found it to be actually after a very high stress related work environment episode that it actually worsened. So I actually wanted to, that's why I made a comment that how already real this is for me on a biological level. And that's why I also made a further comment just to finish off my side of it, is to ask for Nucleocell, please provide the participants tonight with a discount code so that definitely I'm interested in your products for sure.
Thank you, Alta. And you know what you're experiencing is real. So a lot of people might say that burnout is just another term, and adrenal fatigue. There's no clinical thing that you can put onto it, but the symptoms are real, and there your blood actually shows that your white blood cells, your immune system is severely under pressure because of the high stress levels you are experiencing. And I have a little bit of challenges with our website. We actually wanted to create an affiliate link so that you can just click on it and it automatically pulls through. You can buy on our online store on our website, but the easiest and the quickest is going to be if you send me a WhatsApp. And then I will know that it comes from this seminar, and I can do a 10% discount on all the products that are sold because of this seminar. Please, we would love to support you to experience the benefit of nucleotides.
Thank you, Rensha.
That's right. And you can either contact Rensha or
Rochelle as well.
me.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Thank you, ladies. Wow, that was a really, really interesting discussion. Thank you so much. Nikki also shared the contact details. There is the Nucleocell website, the telephone numbers, the link to the calendar, my website, my contact details. So you can copy this quickly. I'm going to leave it there on the slide for now. I want to ask, are there any other questions that you want to talk about? Anything else that you want to ask? Now's your chance, or forever hold your peace.
Lisi, I want to put you on the spot if you're willing to do that. You have been a very loyal user of the nucleotide products, and obviously it does something for you. If you might be willing to share, I'd appreciate that. Don't know if Lisi can hear me.
Yes, okay. I'll put my video on.
Skus dat ek jou op die spot sit, vriendin.
Nee, dis doodreg. Hallo. Hi all.
I'll say hello.
So I must just tell you, Rensha, I met Rensha through a guy I was dating, and she helped him a lot with having diabetes. And but I started with the nuclear, just the collagen for my skin, and I've had very, very good results. So, and especially having eczema and having had it for a very, very long time, we actually saw dramatic results. And I should look for pictures, more pictures, but I don't know where to find. Some of my pictures are a bit scattered. I've got a bit of a scatterbrain. Yeah, so I can really testify that the nucleotides really works very, very well.
Thank you, Lisi.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. As well as, listen, I also, there's a small testimony. What's that? Zeolite.
Yes.
There's something in the range called Zeolite, which is a I think Rensha can explain better. But a while back, I had a severe diarrhea from nowhere, and it didn't want to stop. And Rensha I sent my son. Rensha came to the rescue with that stuff, and within a day, I felt better. Within a day, yeah. So baie goeie. It's stunning product. Dankie. Okay.
Dankie, Lisi.
It's a plezier.
So just quickly on the zeolite, in most of the health shops, you see the zeolite clay. It's a very fine powder. It tastes like cement if you would ingest it. And it's a montmorillonite clay that absorbs, it's almost like activated charcoal. So it plays the same role as activated charcoal. If you have a very bad diarrhea or you need to detox, the clay is not recognized by our body as any biological substance or something, it's foreign. So it works like a sponge, and it just absorbs a lot of toxins and heavy metals and then flushes them out.
Oh, wonderful.
It can also be made as a paste and then used as a mask, and it removes impurities and blemishes. But that's a discussion for another day. Thanks, Lisi, for mentioning that.
Would it be possible for you to make a small flyer of the I see your hand, Nikki, a small flyer of the products that you have and say what you want to use this for, because then we can send that to the participants as well. And I think it would make their order process a little bit easier if they know what the products are about and what the products can help with. Would that be possible?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just there's something that I actually want to note in terms of the nucleocell products. All the nucleocell products contains the nucleotides, the miracle molecule, right? The difference between the products is they've got various supporting ingredients, and they've got nucleotides in different quantities. Like, for instance, if somebody has irritated IBS or an autoimmune disease or something like that, they would start off with the lower dosage. But one of what we will definitely do is send a flyer with information on every single product. But if you can't wait for that, you can definitely go to the website. The website literally, it's got more than enough information on each product. And it also has got a couple of videos as well that will help you understand it better.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Nikki, you had your hand raised?
I actually raised it by itself. I just raised my hand and then Zoom raises it. The new version. I wanted to say that on the 11th of November, Rensha said to me, it's now or never. You use this. And she gave me the product that on it is the gut. Because I've always struggled with my gut being so highly anxious. And I have felt within 2 days a difference. So my stomach isn't as tight inside. Plus, I've experienced a better feeling. A feeling of just a better feeling inside. I know my body quite well. So I wanted to say that. A very visceral feeling of comfort inside. So thank you.
Lovely.
And there is another question.
The question that came through, is the product tested and SAPRA approved? So SAPRA is our South African regulatory authority. So it's a South African Health Product Regulatory Authority. The P and the H was just the other way around, and that threw me for a while. Our product is a health supplement. So it's a Schedule 0, and SAPRA does not know in which category it belongs, because SAPRA doesn't work with anything below amino acids, and they don't know what nucleotides are. So we actually had a very good discussion today with somebody who can put us in contact so that we can finally talk to SAPRA and find out what the category will be for nucleotides. They are not medicine. It's not a drug because it's a natural substance and it's seen as food. So even in the European markets, it falls under food and food as a supplement. So we don't have a schedule, it's schedule 0. And I hope that answers your question.
Wonderful. When Rencha mentioned the affiliate link that's on the blink at the moment, do you like that? It's a funny link. It's on the blink. Anyway, when the link is working and everything is fine, I will be adding that link to my website. So whenever you want to order products, you can also find the link on the website and then order from there. That's how we will work going forward. Okay. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Anything else I can help you with? Anything
I
else
don't know
that might...
if it's important for this audience, but the product is completely vegan, halal and kosher. We do pack the powder in cellulite capsules so that it's not gelatin that is used. So it can also be used for people that are sensitive to animal products.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm.
Anything else last time? Going, gone. I'm going to say
I would just
thank
like
you,
to say
Rachel.
one thing. I just like to say one thing.
Sure, Rachel.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to share what we do and how we help individuals with burnout. I definitely think there is huge demand for people to understand burnout and not just dismiss it as a mental or something like a mindset. I mean, I was amazed when you told me that there's 12 stages.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, so I'd like to applaud you for doing this and educating us, and may you grow in leaps and bounds and help people all over this globe.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. Rochelle, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. It was an honor and a pleasure to host the two of you, and I have learned so much about my body and burnout. Like I said, I don't coach on anything that I haven't experienced. So been there, done that, also got the burnout t-shirt. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm looking forward to having many more like this in the future. Thank you so much.
Dankie, Rochelle, and dankie everybody who tuned in.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a blessed evening. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dankie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wil sy Nexie, kan die recording stop?
Ja, ek gaan. Ek wil net geweet het of jy
Dankie.